Hello and welcome to Retrotainment Recast. I'm back here as the judge. As you can see, Greg, nowhere to be seen. He keeps talking about all those title wins, all of that nonsense, you know.
We put an
The,
end to that, didn't we, last week?
the boys put an end to that. They did screw me, you know. Sherlock being off sick screwed me because, as was discussed in our group chat, had Sherlock been judging, I'd have won and I'd have continued on. But,
This is true.
you know, the
Well, you
boys.
had a draw last week, and that means Greg would have been here.
No, but Greg wouldn't have been there at all because had you
Well,
judged,
that's
I
true.
would have been there, you know. So I
Boys, I've upped my game in fairness in the last few
no,
weeks.
you have. I'm just
You have.
saying
You're
you and
getting more
Greg with
used to it
those
now.
you and Greg with those brown envelopes have cost me again, right? That's just the way it is.
Well,
But as it
I'm getting the smell of brown envelopes here tonight, you two. So we'll see.
well, we'll see. As it stands, King is our current champion.
Yeah, people's champion.
Second reign.
Yeah, second one.
Second
Yeah,
reign. Okay, so
Well,
let's see.
history repeat itself because I did end the first raid.
you
It
did.
was Sherlock did end the first strain, so let's see,
Oh,
will that repeat itself? The film you were given was a tough one. 300.
Yes.
Um,
very tough.
I found, like, as the judge, even just recasting this, I found it quite tough because a lot of these actors could probably still do the role.
You
Yeah,
could do.
You know what I mean? Like, you're
I,
talking Leonidas, he can still, like, the same person can just be Leonidas. It
yeah.
yeah.
doesn't do it. Like Jared
Now,
Butler, yeah, he's a bit older now, but it's not like
the way I
he's
did this,
60.
the way I did this is either going to work for me or it's not going to work for me. The way I recast everything, because like when this movie came out, they were most of the actors weren't very well known at all. They're all well known now,
Hmm.
but at the
Yeah,
time they came out, they weren't the biggest names. And
yeah.
I kind of went the same way there. So like
Okay.
you recognize the names, but they're not A-list.
I would say he mightn't have been A-list, but I would say Gerard Butler was up there. He was quite up there already by this point.
I checked his IMDb. There
I think
was
this was his big one,
nothing
wasn't it?
really. This was after this is when he started getting big roles.
Does
But like he
he?
was never like this
Maybe.
wasn't there was no even Fassbender wasn't well known.
No, Fassbender I knew wasn't, but I thought
Yeah,
Gerard Butler had kind of had
not really.
No.
a few decent ones in here before this had hit.
So like,
Um,
don't get me wrong, I didn't choose completely unknown people at all, but I haven't gone, with the biggest of names in this. So it's either going to do really well or it's going to screw me. So
It could be an interesting show, Sherlock, because I must have taken a really big gamble with my Leonidas. So
you did an all-female cast, didn't you?
maybe.
could be that could be an interesting one. No, like as I said, this is a tough one because a lot of these actors are still, yes, they've aged a bit, but they still,
Yeah,
actors nowadays
Active.
looking 40 nowadays is the same as looking 30 for a lot of these
Yeah.
actors. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So a lot of them could have just slipped back into this role.
true.
So
But
yeah,
then,
it's going to be a tough one. But if you boys want to get your lists in there, so I can just in
Yeah,
case there's any draws. Now, since you both said you have went a bit left field here, that maybe that's unlikely to have any draws, but just in case.
mhm.
very true.
Here we go.
Very,
They
very
all in there?
true.
Yes, I have both there, so that's perfect. So as always, we'll start with the champ. Smallest role here.
I say it's Stelios, isn't it?
I was gonna say it's Stelios, isn't it? Like it is Fassbender here.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because we did discuss this before. We came
We
in to do
we
this.
found it hard to get down to 7. This was
Yeah.
probably the one we found it hardest
Yeah, but we did discuss this. You had originally thought, Carl, that Stelios was was the son of the commander.
of Artemis. Yes.
Of the captain, and I was saying no, he's the friend. So
Yeah.
it was a
He's the
tough
one
one.
who is the one who dies beside Leonidas.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's not the one that gets his head cut off by
No.
the
Yes.
thing.
Yeah.
So, but
We could have gone either way, really.
I think we could have
Yeah.
gone either way. But I think Fassbender as an actor is bigger now. Maybe we should have gone Astonis, but
Yeah.
I think
It
I
is
think honestly, I probably would have cast the same person into this role myself for
probably
either
the
because they're
same.
both around, they're both in their mid to late 20s. Do you know what I mean? Like I'd probably still have gone in and around the same sort of area myself. So, yeah, we'll start with Stelios, and it's yourself first, King.
Yeah. So I only had one backup on this one, and I wasn't sure. I put Ben Barnes as a backup. Okay.
Yeah.
Which we could see it happen, but I kind of went not A-list Hollywood, obviously.
Yeah.
I went with Richard Madden from Game of Thrones. Robb
Yeah.
Stark.
Yeah.
Richard
Okay.
Madden. Okay.
Yeah, that's a decent shout for in there. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sherlock, who have you got?
I went with someone who hasn't been used on this show in quite a while.
Oh.
Zendaya.
I,
Oh no, you could have picked Zendaya.
I used her last week. He hasn't been used in the show quite a while, but he kind of has the look of it, and he'd be able to get shredded because we have seen him shredded before. I went with Sam Claflin.
Sam Claflin. Ooh, I do
Yeah.
like Sam Claflin. I've used Sam Claflin a couple of
You
times
have.
myself.
Yeah.
Greg has sent in his list here as well, so I'll give you who Greg had. As always, Greg and King had similar thought patterns, but
course.
Greg didn't switch his. He stuck with Ben Barnes here. So Ben Barnes is a bit of a cursed choice on this show because I've used him twice, and he's been really good for the role twice. And both times it's just been like Sherlock, you didn't know who he was from from Punisher.
Yeah.
And King just didn't really know him well enough to use him. So he's kind of a cursed choice. But I like that Greg played the judge there, knowing that I would have liked that one.
The way, if I can just throw in a little bit of an argument here, Fassbender or Stelios in this, he's not young, but
No.
like he's not as young as your man's son, but he's still young. And
Oh, yeah.
I know Sam Claflin and Richard Madden are roughly the same age, but they don't look it. Richard Madden does look like he's in his 40s.
He has a little bit of a baby face. He has.
I haven't seen Claflin in a few years now, so I'm trying to think. I'm trying to think what the
he
last
was in
thing I've
last
seen.
night in Soho.
Was he?
He was. He was the cop when he was younger.
Oh, he was. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll tell you who I went with. I had kind of one or two here. Had Jack Quaid as a backup. But
good choice, but could he get that shredded?
Could he get that shredded? And is he maybe a little bit too big to take that role in terms of name value at this point in his career? Like obviously, probably most well known for The Boys, but he has had a lot of he was in the most recent Scream and things like that. He has had quite a few things. I don't know if he's there. I went with Dacre Montgomery here. Again, somebody who has had a couple of leading roles.
Quite often on this show.
Yeah, he has had one or two leading roles, but not. I still don't think he's there to be the lead actor just yet. No. And, as we saw in Stranger Things, the guy can get into pretty good shape as well. You know what I mean? So it's not like it's not like he'd be bad at the role. I don't know. They are both the same age, and they both would be quite good there. I think I am going to go with Claflin there. I think Claflin maybe just does have that bit more of the baby face. Now that could just be because I don't know if I've seen Richard Madden without the beard. So maybe when he gets rid of the beard, maybe he does have that baby face hidden underneath there. But I don't know that I've seen him without it. So I will go with Claflin there. Sherlock will take the first one on that. Next
both
up,
good choices though.
Yeah. Next up, I suppose it's Artemis, is it? Captain Artemis is probably the next one here.
Of what we have, I'd say, yeah.
Probably, or maybe Dilius.
Oh, no.
He doesn't really do much.
But he's the narrator the whole way through as well, which is kind of important. So, we'll go with Artemis anyway. We know who our last kind of couple are going to be anyway. So it doesn't really matter here. We'll go with Artemis. So, Sherlock, who do you have here? our
This is my
captain.
kind of left wing one, and it might have worked better if it was Greg that was the judge on this. But I think he would do this role really well, especially when he after his son dies and he has the madness in his eyes, and he just goes batshit fucking crazy.
Mhm.
And I actually wrote the name down without realizing what movie we were doing. So it's not because he was in the original, he was in it. I went with Jared Butler.
Yeah, that's it is a decent choice, to be fair. I
Yeah.
can't
Because
fault.
I actually, like, I completely blanked. I was like, oh shit, he's actually the lead.
Yeah,
I went with Jared Butler because he did do that role very well.
yeah, and you know,
He's
it
got
has
a bit
been.
older now.
We have had this before where we've said it's not that you can't use an actor from the film.
Yeah.
You can't use the same actor for the same role. That's a definite
Yeah.
no-no. But if a character can fit in somewhere else, then I think it can work. I think it is probably a bit more difficult to manage that one because obviously there is always going to be that sway. But Jared Butler's a decent shout there, yeah.
Because I'm especially just thinking when he just has the fire in his eyes and he's going fucking crazy. It's such a powerful scene, and he can do that.
Yeah. King, who have you got here?
Okay, I went with another kind of a hothead in
Okay.
things. I went with Luke Evans.
Okay. I'll tell you who Greg went for. It's another match to King, Luke Evans. Both of them went Luke Evans, right? And Luke
Okay,
Evans,
I'm glad it's not Greg that's the judge. I'd been 2-0 down.
yeah. Well, I don't know. See, Greg might. I don't know to say. Greg knows Claffin well enough to go for that, but maybe he does. Myself, I kind of debated between two people, and I was looking at the boys here, Anthony Starr or Jensen Ackles. Now I went Jensen Ackles because I think Jensen Ackles is willing to take that side role a little bit more,
pick.
and but both of them I think can do that crazy eyes very well, but it's not just crazy eyes. Do you know what I mean? There's the eyes are crazy, but there's the tears in his.
I think Anthony Starr would play a different type of crazy, wouldn't he?
Yes,
yeah,
I think so.
He'd be a little bit different. I think Jensen Ackles could play that,
Yeah.
The emotional crazy.
Emotionally crazy. So I thought Jensen Ackles was probably the strongest one there. Obviously you could say the likes of like Sebastian Stan or something could fit in there as well, but
I wasn't going for big names.
Well, also for Artemis, Stan is just way too big to be Artemis at this point, I think, isn't he?
Yeah, true. Exactly, yeah.
Luke Evans or Jared Butler? I am going to go Luke Evans there. It possibly is just the sway of him having not been there and Jared Butler being there.
Yeah.
But I don't think Jared Butler wasn't a bad choice there either because he would fit in. So yeah, I can just see Jared Butler is maybe a bit too imposing as a figure.
You're talking about Gaston here.
Yeah, but Gaston looked massive because everybody else looked so small. I don't think Luke Evans isn't huge. You know what I mean? Jared Butler isn't huge either. Don't get me wrong, but I think he's more of an intimidating presence.
He is, but I was thinking, just the passion. I don't know if you've seen it. Did you see Law Abiding Citizen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The passion that he has there when he goes out for his revenge kills.
Oh yeah.
Is exactly what I was picturing here. Kind of.
Oh no, yeah, and I think for that scene alone, Jared Butler does it really well. But when you have to have Jared Butler stand beside Leonidas, who's meant to be their big huge warrior, then you have that little bit of the problem of, who are you putting in there if Jared Butler's your second in command? So I'll go Luke Evans there, and it's kind of on that. I do know where you were coming from, but unfortunately, it's not just that one scene. We have to cast through the whole film.
That's fair. That's fair.
I'll go Luke Evans. Third, do you go? We'll go Dilios here.
Dilios.
Just because
I'm actually
think-
pretty happy with my Dilios pick.
I think our final two are obviously going to be Xerxes and Leonidas.
Yeah,
Xerxes does fuck all.
But he's the main bad
main
one.
villain,
He's the main villain. You know, you have to give him his props as the main villain.
Fair.
So yeah, we'll go Dilios here, our narrator and our one-eyed beast. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
So it's back to you, champ.
Yeah. I have only one name here because I kind of found it a bit difficult to cast this one. But I went with Travis Fimmel from Vikings.
Oh, you could be in a bit of trouble here.
Really?
I haven't seen the Vikings.
Right,
So
okay.
What's his name?
Thomas Fimmel.
Thomas
Travis
Fimmel.
Is it
Travis Fimmel,
Travis
sorry.
Fimmel.
Yeah.
Oh, he was in Warcraft though, and I have seen Warcraft. So that could save you.
Okay.
Um,
And he has that
Is
kind
he
of a
big
look.
in Warcraft?
yeah, he's like the main male
Human.
lead. He's the main
Okay.
human lead. So he is a big name, but I mean, as much as Warcraft was a big thing for people who play the game, it wasn't, it was never going to be the blockbuster that people thought it could be.
Yeah.
So that's not a bad one. Yeah, I can see him fitting in there.
Yeah, I'm just looking at him in Warcraft. He looks the part, yeah. Sorry, Sherlock, sorry.
Go ahead, Sherlock.
We are all basing it off these lads are going to get into fucking great shape.
Yes.
You know,
Don't say Jonah Hill.
I'm not saying Jonah Hill.
If you say someone like Jack Black, I'm going to say, listen, that guy's not able to get into good shape.
Yeah, no,
so you can't have him. But yeah,
this lad's been in decent shape before, but not in this shape.
I think if you have a certain body type in Hollywood, you can get to that. Like, look at Chris Pratt. He was.
Yeah.
He did himself.
But even when Chris Pratt was kind of big, you could still see that Chris Pratt had the type of body that could become in shape.
Yeah.
Whereas Jack Black, if Jack Black came out one day ripped to shit, I'd be like, what the fuck is this? I don't like this at all.
Yeah. I also went with someone who has a decent voice for the narration. So that did play in my mind.
I do think that is important as well.
Yeah. I went with Donald Gleason.
Okay,
yeah.
He kind of has the look for it as well. I was kind of comparing the look to your man as well.
Yeah, I can see.
He's a little bit on the slight side, though. I know what you can build. I know you're saying you can.
He has in certain things. I mean, he's never been fucking huge, but I mean, he's been in decent shape.
I mean, out of those two, I could see Fimmel been the better looking for the role, if you get me. But
So for Greg here, Greg went Richard Madden here. So you might actually not have lost that first point if Greg was judging, because Greg had used Richard Madden elsewhere. Now, as I've said before, as judge, I don't think that's not how I do judging anyway. If I've used the character somewhere else, I can only judge on what's in front of me. Whether the fact that I used the character elsewhere shouldn't sway my vote down there. Unless I think it's like supremely just wrong.
I did the same last week, even though I did have Jack Black elsewhere.
Yeah.
For Pain and Panic.
Yeah.
I had two people here. One Stranger Things, one Game of Thrones. Well, actually, two Game of Thrones, because I actually think they're both in Game of Thrones, but one would be more remembered for Stranger Things than he would Game of Thrones. So from Game of Thrones, I'm just going to use his name in that because I can't pronounce his actual name, Jaime Lannister.
I was going to pick him, but I thought he might have been a bit too old nowadays.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I used him a couple months ago.
You did use him recently enough. I'm just not going to try and butcher his name. Because it's too difficult to say. And the other one is, I think may have been used, Tom Vlashashi, who was the Russian prison guard in Stranger Things. Gets caught.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
I think he kind of has that look. And then in Game of Thrones, he was the man, the faceless man. King for you if you don't. I know. Watch it, so he was the faceless man.
He was another name that popped up, actually, believe it or not.
Yeah, I think the two of them kind of have the look.
Yeah.
Now,
the man's name is Nikolaj Costa, by the way. Nikolaj.
Yeah, it's Costa Waldua.
Yeah,
So I
just
was like, I don't want to. I that's who I kind of had there. I probably would have gone with your man Tom, just a bit of a smaller name there, and a little bit younger. But they are both probably now the original actor was 41, so like you're talking 50 and late 40s for the two I picked. So I think they could still work because they don't look that old. But
like you say, this is the kind of film you could age up because they don't look like kids in it.
For most of the roles,
yeah.
Now, as for that, we had Donald Gleason.
Travis Fimmel has a good old voice as well.
Fimmel. He does, yeah. I think what King said earlier is going to account for me that Donald Gleason is maybe just not bulky enough for this role.
Yeah.
I think Travis Fimmel maybe just fits into it a little bit better. I do like Donald Gleason as a choice as well, but I just think Travis fits into that a little bit better as for the sword fighting and stuff like that. Donald would he'd be better as less as a warrior and more as a
maybe as Terran or something like that.
Yeah,
Terran,
more as a kind of. I don't know if he could be as villainous as he needs to be for Terran, but
he wasn't bad and has General Hux.
No, he's not, but I just don't know if he's that villainous, And it's obviously all acting, so he is a fantastic actor, so he probably could do it. But no, I'll go Travis Fimmel there. So that puts the King up 2-1. We'll go Tyrion next because I think it's kind of a toss up between him and Gorgo anyway. So
yeah. Okay, so here's where. Oh yeah, it's you. Sorry,
this is me.
Sherlock first on this one. Yeah.
Just he's basically this smarmy, sly little fuck.
Weasel. He's a little weasel. Yeah, little rat.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Yeah. So quite simply, I went with a guy that not only looks like a slimy, sly little fuck, but he has played it in a couple of movies. I went with Adam Scott.
Adam Scott?
Yeah. I know. Again, I told you I wasn't going huge names.
Yeah, I can see Adam Scott can be slimy when he needs to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And he can be that smart politician-y as well.
Exactly, has that kind of noble-y look,
Pretty short though, isn't he? Like in terms of height. Like the guy who was Teros seemed to be very tall.
No, Teros was kind of medium. I didn't think he was too tall.
I didn't think he was overly tall.
I think Xerxes looks like 18 foot tall for some reason.
Yeah. Well, they just have him like that.
Camera.
I know it is camera work, but why they decided they wanted to make him look so gargantuan was beyond me. But who do you have here, King?
I have a guy who I've only one name. He's probably not overly famous, but I think people would know him. It's Tom Ellis. From Lucifer.
Lucifer.
Yeah.
Slimy motherfucker.
Yeah. So Greg for here had Chris Pine. I think Chris Pine is a bit of favorite of Greg's, isn't he? Greg's used.
Yeah, I think he is. Yeah,
a couple of times here. Now I do think Chris Pine could do it. Chris Pine can be quite smarmy and intelligent as well.
Yeah.
He's a big name though.
He is probably a bit bigger here. I actually thought a little bit along the lines of what you were doing here, Sherlock, with with one of the names I had. I had Fassbender. I think Fassbender could have done this role quite well.
He can play a villain. Yeah.
Yeah, he can definitely play a villain.
And he can play the smarmy, smart villain as well. But the issue for Fassbender was he's too big.
He's
too big a name to take that role anymore. But I think he could have done it well. So I kind of bounced around a couple of different ones. Alfie Allen from Game of Thrones. Have done that quite well. Again, not a huge name. Jamie Campbell Bower, who was Vecna in Stranger Things, and he's been kind of like a bit smarmy and stuff, and you can see him as kind of an intelligent guy. And then the one I settled on was from The Boys, Chase Crawford, who is the Deep.
Oh, the Deep.
Now he's not overly intelligent in that, but he shows the smarminess and the sucking up, but also backstabbing absolutely anyone he gets a chance to. Do you know what I mean? So I was like, I think
he's a great character. Actually,
yeah, I was like, he fits in there. Like now, I really liked Alfie Allen, and it took me a long time to move off him. But I just felt Alfie Allen's a bit too slight, maybe. Chase isn't huge either, but he's just that
But
little bit bigger.
this character's
Doesn't need
not
to be huge
exactly.
either, but he is
No.
he is meant to be relatively physically imposing as well, is kind of what I was
Yeah.
thinking.
I think most Spartan men in this are imposing.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Is he Spartan though? I don't know that he is a Spartan.
I
He's
don't
on the
know he
council.
is.
I don't think they
He's-
say, do they?
They don't say, but he's on the
He's
council. But
Greek in any way.
I think he's Greek, but I don't think he's a Spartan because none of them treat him with respect. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They all kind of look down upon him. So I don't know that he is a Spartan.
And you don't really see what shape he's in because he's covered in the robes.
Yeah, he is always covered in his robes to hide the gold that he
Yeah.
took.
Traitor!
He was a traitor. Oh, I don't know. Those are two fairly good picks, but and this is based just on knowing one of them more than the other. And I know Adam Scott more than I know Tom Ellis. So I've just looked up Tom Ellis there. He is quite tall as well, so I think he might be a bit too physically imposing for this character. You know, like they all kind of shit on him. They're all like, "You little fucking weasel." I don't know that someone's going to call Tom Ellis a little fucking weasel. Not to his face, anyway. Whereas
True.
Adam Scott doesn't look, imposing enough to be like, oh, well, I'd be afraid to say that to him.
Yeah.
That levels us up 2-2, is it?
2-2, 3 to go.
2-2, yeah.
Oh, I did. Chris Pine was Greg's there.
Yes.
So I think we'll keep. I know Xerxes isn't as big in the film, but he is the main villain, so I will keep him to second last, and we'll go with our only female here, a female lead from Lena Headey. So Gorgo,
Lena Headey.
It's you first, King. So
now we're getting into the real risk taking stuff.
Okay.
It's either going to be a risk or is it going to say, "Shut up, Carl." So I had a couple of ones. I had Samara Weaving as possible.
Yeah.
Emmy Rowan from Shameless. She's the main daughter from Shameless, the US version, by the way. I had Olivia Wilde, but I went with what I would consider a safe one for me. Anyway, I went with, and I don't know how you're going to take this. I went with Daisy Ridley.
I do like Daisy Ridley.
I think she could do that. Yeah,
I do like Daisy Ridley. I think she's underrated.
Yeah.
And she's not getting roles because of the backlash that arseholes are giving the new Star Wars films.
Yeah.
But I do think she's very good.
Yeah. No, I like Daisy Ridley. That's a pretty solid pick there. Sherlock, who have you got?
For me, I went with someone who kind of does play the regalness that Gorgo does have, especially early on in the movie. She is very regal and she has the kind of stiff upper lip kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I actually looked. She's actually pretty much the same age that Lena Headey was at shooting. Actually, and as a favorite of yours said, I went with Emma Watson. Yes, she used to be a huge name, but her star in acting world in any way isn't as high as it used to be. Which is why I've come in with this, and it's not a huge role yet, but it's meaty enough that she could make her come back in a film.
Can I just interject for an argument for my pick, if that's all right? I think, like they obviously casted Gorgo with an English type accent, I think. So, I mean, obviously Daisy Ridley has a similar voice to Lena, a little bit, you know what I mean?
Emma Watson too.
Well, yeah, I know, but like, I know,
not a great argument to say an English accent with Watson as the counterpoint.
Well, no, I would hear more of a likeness to Lena's voice with my pick, But that's.
I'll give you Greg's pick here. Sherlock, you won't like it. Emilia Clarke.
Oh God, no.
Now I can see exactly where Greg's coming from here because this Emilia Clarke is very good at playing a character that can be both vulnerable, but also very self-assured and very powerful, which is what Lena Headey does with this character. And if Greg was in this, he probably would have taken it because Emilia Clarke is who I had down as well. I also had Kristen Stewart as backup because I think she does that quite well.
Yeah, she came into my mind at one stage.
King, when you said Daisy, you had someone that I did have down as a backup, but I had Daisy Edgar Jones.
Oh, right.
Not a big name, maybe a little bit younger, but she's obviously from Fresh, and she can play that role of,
I think she's just been cast in the new Star Wars TV show.
I think she's rumored. I don't know if it's officially cast yet, but yeah.
She's the end of her career, so.
No, the TV shows seem to do quite
They're
well.
all right, yeah.
I liked the new Star Wars, just to say. I had no issue with them.
Me too.
For me,
I love them.
I love the original trilogy and I love the story in it.
Yeah,
but a lot of the time, what I want from my Star Wars is I want to see a deadly lightsaber battle, and I want to see shit tons of fighting in the sky in the jets. That's about it,
Look,
I want to see a big bad.
They're family movies.
Exactly, yeah.
I want to see a big bad baddie, and I want to see lots of people fighting. The third set of the trilogy was fucked because they let two different directors do it. So the first guy had an idea, the second guy had his own idea, and then it went back to the first guy. So the middle of the story was just fucked. Whereas if you just let him just do that whole story, maybe it would have been a lot better,
Yeah.
Well, how did he come back from the death? Well, maybe we would have known if we had a middle part of the story.
He just did.
But if we had a middle part of that story, we might have known. Do you know what I mean? And
consistency would have been nice.
you need to have the full, like, it didn't matter who directed it, but the whole story should have been written out. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the Harry Potters switched the directors, and I don't think they're the best shot films in the world either. But because the story was already laid out in front of them, they still had to stick to what was there.
They couldn't change it. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's where I think Star Wars got let down, is that they did have two different people who one wanted to stick to what the old fan favorite liked, and one wanted to go completely batshit wild. And then it was like, well, now we need to mesh these somehow. I'll be honest, I don't like Emma Watson for that role.
Really?
Yeah, I think Emma Watson can play the emotional part. I think she can play the I don't see her as intimidating as.
I think she can be fairly intimidating. I mean, she was Hermione.
Hermione's not intimidating.
She's not intimidating.
She can be.
If you compare intimidation
later on in the start, she's not. But towards the end,
even later on, when they give Hermione everything they can to make her so great, so good, what she's intimidating about is because she's an extremely talented witch.
Yeah. In
terms of a physical figure standing there, I don't find her intimidating. And also I don't, and this may be just a bit of bias, but I don't think Emma Watson takes a role where her character essentially lets herself be raped for the good of the country. I think she'd be like, no, I don't want my character doing that. I want my character to fight back on that. Now, maybe she would, maybe she wouldn't. And I do think, and I've said this before, I think when Watson if she does decide to go back to acting, I don't think her star will have diminished. I think when she gets announced that she's in something, her name and her star power is just that big that when someone goes, by the way, Emma Watson's in this, everyone's going to be like, oh shit, here we go. I do think people are going to be very invested because she is a very good actress. I don't really see Daisy Ridley in that role either. I don't think that she's overly intimidating either. Even from the Star Wars, I don't think she was overly intimidating, unfortunately. Which she wasn't meant to be in that, which is, which I was happy with. She's not meant to be this intimidating force. But I do see her just taking that role a little bit easier than I see Watson taking it, unfortunately. So I am going to give that one to Daisy Ridley. So that puts King up 3-2. Sherlock, you need two wins here.
The two of them here. I don't know if I'm going to get it. I think you might be defending this here, King.
Well,
we'll see.
It's to you on Xerxes here, so
exactly. I this was the one I was worried about with Xerxes because I went with
Ooh,
a relatively, unless you've seen the movies, Ted, and I can only think of two movies that he's been in,
okay.
and like
Interesting.
I've only seen him in two things, and I think he'd do the role very well. But again, I've only seen him in two things, and like this guy was a fucking unknown guy. Let's be
Yeah.
honest.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like
Very.
he was completely unknown. So I went with someone who would have the look, has the skin color, has basically that look.
Yeah.
I went with Marwan Kenzari. The two movies that I've seen him in is he was Jafar in the
That's
live action Aladdin,
that's what I was gonna say. I know him from Aladdin.
uh, and he
Um,
was the villain in Black Adam.
I actually do know him from another film. I've just looked him up there. I hadn't thought about this film in a long time, but What Happened to Monday was a Netflix
Okay.
film, and I remember him from that. Um, or well, I remember that film. I don't know if I necessarily
Yeah.
remember him from it. I'm just having
Yeah.
a quick look at who he. Oh, I do know who he was actually. Now that I've just looked him up, I do know who he is from that. So,
Yeah.
I don't know that I know him from anything else.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know him from a lot of stuff, but I know he'd be able to do Xerxes.
Yeah, Xerxes doesn't do a whole lot here, to be honest.
Exactly.
There's one or two small speeches. They're not given overly brilliantly, and the
Yeah.
rest of it is
Looking
just
intimidating.
trying
Bit
to look
intimidating.
trying to look intimidating. I don't think
Yeah.
this
Yeah.
Xerxes look
Yeah.
all that intimidating.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
And like, but he's playing this
yeah,
thinking
he's
he's a
meant to be a
god.
man. Yeah, the God King, yeah, sort of thing. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's a fine choice there.
You
King,
know, completely unknown, like, well, not completely unknown, but like he's
not
the
a huge
least
name.
known
Yeah, not a
person I've
huge name.
chosen
Yeah,
here. Yeah.
King.
So I went with someone who would be known to people, but not overly huge. But as backups, I had Diego Luna and Riz Ahmed, which they would have been a lot bigger than this guy, I feel.
Mm.
Yes. Yeah.
I think this guy has the look and he can be intimidating. I'm not saying that Xerxes was intimidating. I went with Michael Mando from Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad. Nacho.
Yeah, Greg went. Where's Greg's one here? Greg went a little bit strange here. Sacha Baron Cohen,
Oh
Oh,
God, no.
who I can see
I
what
can
Greg is
yeah.
going.
I can see what he's going for, but
I don't know that. I suppose when he's not acting as his jokey characters, maybe he
I've used Sasha
does.
before. I have used Sasha before. I
He's
don't
quite
think he's right
versatile.
for it. He's very
Yeah,
versatile and he's a good
Mm,
actor.
mm.
the thing is,
I
he's
like him when
very
he's
tall.
serious.
He's very tall as well. So like I can see where Greg was kind of going on
Yeah.
that. Sacha Baron Cohen is quite tall, so I can see where he was going with that. I went with someone who had quite a big name, but I think has kind of fallen off quite a lot in the last couple of years, or at least I don't remember him being in anything massive in the last few years. I went with Dev Patel,
Okay.
who I think
Yeah,
could
that's
play
true.
that. Again, not an intimidating looking guy, but maybe if you shaved him bald and told him to stop smiling, he'd look a little bit more intimidating. Do you know what I
Exactly.
mean? I
Like
would.
we're all thinking for all these characters that they're going to get in ridiculous shape for the role that they're going to be in.
Yeah, the thing with Xerxes is he's not actually in ridiculous shape. He's
He's more
quite.
slender, isn't he?
He's just
Yeah,
quite slender. He's not like
yeah.
ripped. Do you
Well,
know
of
what I mean?
course, but
So,
yeah,
um, I don't know. Unfortunately for Carl, I'm just having a look here. I don't really know Michael Mando. I haven't watched Better Call Saul.
He was in Spider-Man as well.
Yeah, I see that, but I'm trying to think who he was in Spider-Man.
He was the guy. What's the guy Scorpion? I can't remember I
Oh
can't
God,
remember.
he was the worst part of Homecoming.
Yeah, well, we're not talking about that. We're
Oh,
talking
jeez,
about this film.
don't even remember him in that. Unfortunately, I think I don't know the actor well enough. Unfortunately, I haven't seen Better Call Saul, so
You seen Breaking Bad?
no. It's one that's on my list that I keep meaning to get to, but then it's one that I have to be able to watch and enjoy. And at the moment, I just don't have time to sit down and watch and enjoy something. So
I feel you, brother.
all the series I'm watching are rewatches of The Office, which I just binged through again, just finished season 9 there the other day. Because I can just have it on in the background without thinking. So not again, both actors not huge names. And everyone might disagree. Maybe Michael Mando should win that. I just don't know him well enough, so I am going to have to go with Marwan Kenzari, just because I know him that little bit better. Unfortunately, King. So that does
that's
tie
shocking that he's known more than.
See, well, that's just me having not watched
that was my big
Breaking
gamble.
Bad and Better Call Saul. You see, so that's
well,
where
I'd be in the same boat because I haven't seen either.
Yeah. And that's just unfortunate. I don't know if that's been brought up too often on the show.
Now,
So King
now
wouldn't
I'm
have known.
now I'm very worried.
Well, this could be a tough one because we're down to our final big victor in Leonidas.
And I've still gone with not a big name.
Okay,
So
it's back. It's
a
back
gamble
to you,
as well.
King. So who have you got in here, King? You said you went big, balls to the wall on the risk for this one.
Well, it's either you're gonna go, yeah, or again you're gonna go, what are you fucking thinking, King? But anyway, my backups and I thought that they were too muscular in the end was Chris Hemsworth and Alan Ritchson, from Reacher.
Yeah, both too physically big. I
huge,
think.
Yeah. They were my initial thoughts, and then I was thinking about the way I didn't want to cast them in this. I really didn't. I was thinking the way Jared Butler acts and reacts, and I hate that I'm going to say this. I went with Conor McGregor.
Oh Jesus!
Well done, Carl. Well done.
Now it depends who Carl says, but because he says he's not confident in his, but
I don't like him. I don't like him. Okay, I don't like him, but I do think.
I don't know that he can act well enough to be the lead.
I could choose Jack Black here.
Well, I don't know that you could choose Jack Black here. I think you'd struggle to win with Jack Black because, as we said, they have to be in shape. But I think McGregor would be a good choice for a smaller part in this film because he can be in shape and he can kind of do stuff. But is he a leading man?
I could.
This is Sparta.
We don't know how he's gonna act when he's in Roadhouse or whatever. And again, I don't like him. But I just kept going back to him for some fucking reason because some of the mannerisms that Leonidas does, I get the impression that your man tries to copy them.
I think there probably is elements that he takes that. I think it's the acting performance that you need to put in is it's less about could he do the physical acting and the looking in shape because he is in super shape and super buff. It's the actual acting part of it that I think
I don't know. I think it's 50-50 with this. Is more 50. There's a lot of physical acting in this. There's a lot of action when you think about it.
No, there is, but the actual the physical acting part of it, the actual acting part, I don't know that McGregor can do that. But we'll see. We'll see who Sherlock has here.
I went with someone, and it was only after I never didn't plan it out, but this person was actually in a film with Emma Watson also. Was actually the co-lead of a film with Emma Watson in Beauty and the Beast. The guy who played the Beast,
well done,
Dan Stevens. Again, not a huge name. Jared Butler wasn't a huge name.
I hear when you compare him to fucking McGregor.
Have you seen McGregor lately?
Don't worry about what do you mean lately? He's not that skinny.
McGregor's pretty packed out, to be fair.
Yeah.
I don't know that Dan Stevens is all that packed out. I'll tell you who Greg had here, and I don't know that I like Greg's one here either. In Alex Skarsgård.
No.
I don't know that Alex Skarsgård is packed out enough either. I know he's put on a bit of size, but
Dan Stevens is in good shape, is all I'll say. I haven't seen it yet. But
he's slender. He's slender.
He is in that new show on Disney Plus. in which he's playing a stripper.
What's it
Well,
called?
Welcome to Chippendales.
You haven't seen that, so you haven't, Ted.
I
haven't seen
haven't
that.
seen it.
haven't seen Welcome to Chippendales. No, I do know who
Well,
Dan
that's
Stevens
my
is, but
yeah.
Don't know. I don't know if I like either of those. I don't know if I Greg probably would have won with Alex Skarsgård here, even though I don't think it's a fantastic choice, to be honest. He's definitely more built out and he's got the acting ability. I'm
Dan Stevens
surprised.
definitely has the acting ability.
I'm surprised that neither of you went for kind of the easy option here of Sebastian Stan. I'm surprised nobody went with the easy option of Sebastian Stan. I know, big
Wasn't going
name.
for big name. Yeah.
I know, not going for a big name, but I think Sebastian Stan is probably the one that fits in easiest there, and I'm surprised nobody even mentioned him. I think he fits in super easy there. The whole "this is Sparta" thing, the little look back over his shoulder before he kicks your man down the thing. When he's sitting down telling the little wretch that he can't join the Spartans because he can't lift the shield up high enough and stuff. All of that could be Sebastian Stan. I also had Miles Teller as a backup.
I had Scott Eastwood as a backup.
I think your backup is better than your main, to be honest. Sherlock. I think Miles Teller. I probably would have gone Miles Teller just that little bit younger. Is a physically imposing guy. Not super built out. So maybe not as wide as Leonidas, but I think he could come across quite well. I think he could come across as the intimidating, general that they all love.
Exactly. You can't choose McGregor. People do not love him. He's a fucking dickhead.
No,
that wouldn't come into play when it comes to big cinema or movie companies. They'd see dollar signs. They would. I'm telling you now.
Yeah, but nobody can act that well as to actually like McGregor.
This is actually way tougher than it should be, because I actually didn't like McGregor as a choice because I don't think McGregor would be able to do the acting part. And maybe I'll be proved wrong after he has his first role. I just don't think he'd be able to do the acting part. The issue with Dan Stevens isn't intimidating and he's not bulky. Acting wise, yeah, he'd nail it. But
as we did say, people are going to get in shape for this movie.
He still wouldn't get as good shape as he'd need to, I don't think.
I think Dan Stevens can get into shape, as in he could look in good shape, but he would look more like one of the younger lads in shape, the kind of skinny athletic build. I don't think he has that bulk. He doesn't have a frame to build out that bulk. Now, that can all change if you pile a load of food into you. You could eventually maybe get that. And for that, I am going to go Dan Stevens, because I think you do need to have the acting ability here. Unfortunately, I think you do need to be able to act to be the lead of this film. And I don't know, McGregor is too unproven for that. If it was just battle scenes, McGregor would have taken it. But the fact that you need to have your lead actor there, and he needs to be your lead, like he needs to have the emotional talk with Dilios saying, no, you need to go. You need to leave to tell our story and stuff like that. All of that stuff is important. If he didn't have to do any acting, McGregor would have taken that, because I don't think Dan Stevens fits into it all that well either. But
you could give us a draw. You could just say, no, I don't like either of them, and then I'd win.
No, that's come up before, and we've said no, that you can't do that. So it does.
It's done on me a couple of times.
No, it's never been done that neither pick was picked.
There's never been a draw.
You've always had to pick somebody, unfortunately, whether you liked the choices or not. And that's what's happened here. I've gone with somebody who I know and has an acting ability, whereas I don't know that Connor does. So that is what settles it. And
I'm gonna be honest. When I picked Dan Stevens, I was just like, I only looked up a few images. Because I knew he had the thing, and I looked up a few images, and I really only saw his face. I didn't see his body type.
Yeah, I think King, if you'd gone just nearly anybody, if you'd gone Hemsworth, who I do think is possibly too big, you still would have taken that easily with Hemsworth.
I just wanted to take a chance and see how it would go. I mean,
and
play the game,
Listen,
Ted did win with Big E.
I've won with Big E. Carl won with Brock Lesnar. They're just smaller roles where the acting isn't as necessary. But
Yeah.
we crown a new champion in Carl Sherlock. He's taken the title from you again, King.
He's my nemesis. It
He is.
seems.
He's your big nemesis, but it
Sick
does
note
mean
coming
that
in with the victory.
does mean that you'll be missing the next episode, King. You'll be taking a little bit of a break as Greg comes in to judge. But what
No one's gonna pull out now, are they? Because I'm always the guy to come in and help everyone out, like, you know.
I can't guarantee it.
Shut up, you.
if the champ pulls out, then it'll be the first game for a vacated title.
Or a triple threat. Actually, I would have guessed.
No, because you wouldn't be there. It'd still be for a vacated title. Because if the champ can't make it, then he loses his title. But King, what film do you have for us to cast for next week?
I ain't gonna beat about the bush. I'm just gonna give you the 3 words: V for Vendetta. And enjoy that one.
It's been a while since I've watched V for Vendetta. This could be very in Sherlock's hands. This is a big Sherlock film. He watches it every year.
Can I get a point if I can do the V speech without stuttering?
No, because I'll just get it up on the second monitor and read it word for word.
Without stuttering.
Yeah, I can read. So that's going to be a tough one there. Sherlock, I think, has a bit of an advantage, but when it's your favorite, well, not your favorite film, but one of the films that's big on your list, it does make it difficult to recast at times, as we've seen when you and Ian took each other on in the.
V is going to be very difficult to recast.
Yeah,
you don't see his face.
You're gone on a voice then, really.
Yeah, but I think you still do need to go with
the presence.
Yeah, presence as well. So that is going to be a tough one, but that's it for this week. And don't forget to like, share, follow, all that good stuff. And the same for the boys over on the slab, where they have some really big guests coming up. I'm obviously privy to some of the inside knowledge, so I know who some of these guests are, and some of these guests are big names. So don't forget to like, share, and follow the boys over there to keep up with all your horror content. But until next week, good luck.
Adios.